Welcome back for another video. 73 points and a small red arrow from 8k to 8.7k. Honestly, I think I have to take that considering I didn't have Wilson, I didn't have Ekatike, and obviously the big news was Haaland not even in Man City's squad, and that meant a huge number of captaincies swapped over to Ekatike. 30 points you got from that. So yeah, he was a big rank threat, so I'll take 73 points. Gabriel with the assist, the DEFCON and 3 bonus right at the end of the game, it was nice, plus Rice got the assist there. You might remember in last week's video, there was the option to sell Rice for Wilson using a second free transfer. That would have meant an extra 7 points, but obviously sitting on 1 fewer transfer this week. I said at the time, I'm just going to keep the extra transfer bank just in case of any injuries. Well, O'Reilly went off injured, Wilson went off injured, Haaland missed out of an injury, Anderson missed out of illness, and then even Rice went off injured. Arteta was asked, and he said Rice asked to be substituted, and they're going to have to check whether he'll play midweek. So yeah, the team very suddenly in quite a bad spot with all these issues. They've got 5 flags. It's going to be absolutely crucial that we get really solid information from the press conferences. Like, if Haaland's out, then I'll have to sell him. But, you know, what if Haaland's fine and Rice is a big doubt? Or what if, you know, Rice and Wilson are doubts? What if Anderson and O'Reilly are out? What if they're available? So lots to think about. Obviously, it's the same for everyone. I think most people out there have got at least 1 or 2 flags. The presses are on Tuesday, so basically what I'll do in a minute is cover all the possible paths that I could go down depending on team news. Some other highlights in the team: captaincy switching to Bruno, who was my vice, so he got 13 points or 26 as my vice captain. That was huge. O'Reilly clean sheet, Dango and Thiago returned as well against Burnley. A little bit disappointing not to get more from double Brentford attack versus Burnley, but better than nothing. And of course another Rodgers blank for the 8th time this season owning him, maybe next week. Let's have a quick look at how you guys got in last game week. Fpl 2137 says, what a differential, 57 points all out. He went Salah captain, who ended up with 2 points, so 4 as captain. He had Rodon and Mane auto subbing in for Haaland and Anderson. 57 points, rough week. Joe Stack says, I was praying to see this tweet. Please get me in, Oscar. You're in, Joe, you're in. So he had a mad week. So Joe had Sarr in goal. I think that's auto sub for Kelleher. He had Gabriel, Timber, Van Dijk, Wilson, Dango, Ekatike, Thiago, and he had Bruno captain as well. 102 points all out. Michael Norman says, bad week. 49 points all out and a big red arrow. Brutal week for him. So he had triple Chelsea against Arsenal. To be fair, that was always going to be tough, triple Chelsea versus Arsenal. He benched Caicedo, but he ended up auto subbing on. Hopefully Chelsea do a little bit better now that game's out of the way for you. Last one, Football Insights wildcarded, and I think it's one of the best wildcards you'll ever see. So in a week where the average score was 53 points, he wildcards into 104 points, with everyone returning except Hill, who got 2 points. What a great call, well played. So let's get on to the lineup for Gameweek 29 of transfer plans. It's 3 games without a clean sheet for Arsenal. They're away to Brighton this week, and the last time they kept a clean sheet versus Brighton in the league was the 23-24 season. It's pretty disappointing the run they've been on, but we all know Arsenal can just go on a run of clean sheets again. It's just 2 more games that I'll get from Arsenal before wildcarding in Gameweek 32. Though I think I'll probably end up retaining triple Arsenal. At least as it stands, they're about 73% likely to double in Gameweek 33. So obviously, if that happens, triple Arsenal is essential. Beyond Gabriel, I'm not sure what the triple would actually look like right now. I mean, Rice has done pretty well for me as a Saka replacement when he got injured, so perhaps it'll be the same 3 that I own now even. Man City and Palace are also incredibly likely to double in 33. Graphic from Mikhail Tokvam, which has got the projected fixtures for every team against every game week. In defence, it's a back 3 of Gabriel, Anderson and Van Dijk. That was Gabriel's 7th goal involvement of the season, already his most ever, with his previous best being 5, which he did on 2 occasions. In fact, 153 points is also his best tally ever, but DEFCON obviously is skewing that a little bit. Some of you might have seen my all-time FPL Dream Team video or posts online before, and I'm not sure how we handle it now with DEFCON, because I think it's very likely that the team's going to change. Like the all-time Dream Team had Trent, Robertson and Van Dijk back 3. They've all scored 200 plus points, but Gabriel on current pace is on for over 210 points this season. Anyway, on a tangent, that's one for another day. Who would you start, Anderson or O'Reilly? It's really hard to get a read on this one, especially before the press conferences, but what we do know is Anderson's was illness, and you think he's got a good chance of being fine by Wednesday. He probably starts or doesn't play at all. O'Reilly's was a rolled ankle, though City did post a video that had like 5 or 6 players on exercise bikes, and O'Reilly was in that video. They also posted a few photos on their website of players on grass training, but there wasn't one of O'Reilly there. But again, it was only like 5 or 6 photos of players, so we can't really read much into that. It's a really tricky one, because if he has rolled his ankle a little but not severely, then it's not impossible that Pep benches him and he comes on. But he's obviously got the upside, whereas Anderson not so much. Really difficult call. I need to think about that one more. But as it stands, O'Reilly's in the 11. Van Dijk's got good clean sheet odds this week against Wolves away. Joint top actually this week with Man City, Everton and Arsenal. They're all on 42%. Anderson at 29%, not quite as great, and West Ham have been scoring goals lately, but he is great for DEFCONs. Part of me just wants to push it and just start O'Reilly, but I could be getting too selfish with the points. He's already been brilliant for me lately. They've got the FA Cup away versus Newcastle on Saturday next weekend, where he might be preferred after a midweek rest. If you can't tell, I think this is one of the toughest weeks of the season so far for me, because there's just so many angles to consider with flags and who to buy, who to keep. Anyway, onto the midfield, which is Bruno and Bumo, Rice, Dango and Rodgers. So Arteta said Rice asked to come off, and he strikes me as the type of player that wouldn't ask to come off in such a significant game unless he really needed to. Arsenal's title hopes hanging on by a thread every game right now, given City's form, so I'm not that encouraged by him asking to be subbed off, honestly. Newcastle just conceded 3 to Everton, which is a little bit encouraging at least. Though Man United were really poor against Palace up until the red card, I felt. That red obviously completely changed the game for Lacroix, and they were pretty bad first half, United. Bruno did look much better though compared to the Everton game before that. As it stands, Bruno vice-captain. And then it's Dango and Rodgers. So Dango up against his old team Bournemouth. He's got 11 goal involvements and 17 starts, which is actually really impressive. He's still fine to buy this week as well, even with that Burnley game gone, if you're in need of a cheap midfielder anyway. After Bournemouth, they've got Wolves home and then Leeds away. Not expecting anything from Rodgers this week, obviously, and I could even bench him for O'Reilly. Though I think with all the flags, I'm not sure everyone's going to play at this point anyway. I was just going to keep playing Rodgers at this stage and just stubbornly hope he gets a return for me finally this season. In fairness, Rodgers does strike me as one of those players that has it in him to kind of get a goal involvement against any team. It's not necessarily with Rodgers, you just target the bad fixtures. Like Chelsea home, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets something in that. He probably won't. And then up front, it's Haaland and Thiago. So Haaland gets the captain armband. I listened to Pep's press conference, and there's a few more quotes from that. So he said, no, it's not his knee. And he said, I don't have an answer right now. And he also said, so he wasn't ready for today, but we've got 4 days before Nottingham Forest. And then on O'Reilly, he was asked about that as well. And he said, he had a knock on his ankle and he played on and then he was out. When he says he was out, I think what he means there is he played on and then he had to come off. He's not saying that he's out for Gameweek 29 necessarily anyway. My gut feeling is that Haaland will start if I had to guess. So on that basis, I'm going with Haaland captain. We should hopefully get clarification in Pep's press conference. Let's see. This week, Liverpool top for projected goals, 2.4 for them. Man City just behind, 2.3. And then it's Everton and Arsenal, 1.8. Then it's Man United, Newcastle, Bournemouth and Fulham. 11.2 expected goals conceded by Bournemouth in home games this season is second best in the league after Arsenal, so this could be a tough game for Thiago and Dango. The bench this week is going to be Dubravka, O'Reilly, Mane and Mukiele. The team is suddenly in a real state. I've got 5 flags that have come in the space of a week. So Anderson's his illness, Rice asked to come off against Chelsea, Haaland with an unknown issue, O'Reilly got the ankle knock, Mukiele's out for a couple of weeks. There's so many potential moves this week, so I've basically written down my transfer thoughts. So if Wilson is fine, then the plan is to do Rice to Wilson. If Rice and Wilson are both injured or a doubt, then Rice to Szoboszlai is the plan. If Haaland is injured, then Haaland to Ekitike is the plan. If Rice is fine and Wilson is injured, then I'm going to just roll the transfer and play Rice. There's probably other permutations as well, like, if Haaland's out and Rice is out, then it would be Ekitike and Szoboszlai that come in if Wilson's also out. It's a real headache because, if Rice and Wilson are both doubts, then I'll likely have to go for Szoboszlai, which does at least give me a Liverpool attacker, and they've got some good fixtures. But it also means not owning Wilson for Burnley home in Gameweek 31, where his ownership's going to be significant, and it's such a great fixture, and obviously he's already highly owned. He was about 40% effective ownership at my rank last game week. Obviously, I could roll even if Rice is out and just hope that everyone else plays, because O'Reilly's a good first sub, but it's a little bit risky, isn't it? I would need Anderson, O'Reilly and Haaland to all play, who are currently flagged. Otherwise it would be Mane subbing on versus Liverpool. It's by far the most important game week of the season for press conferences for me, so let's hope that the journalists ask the right questions and get the right answers. Let's see if we can manage to survive this week and stay in the top 10k. I'll be back again later today with the experts video, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. See you soon for the next one.